Hey guys, welcome to Sarah's Jewelry Studio. So today I'm going to be going over a tutorial with you on how to do this illusion necklace. So some people call it a floating illusion necklace. We just call it an illusion necklace, but there might be other terms for it. But basically it's where the beads are not all, lined up together like a bead string, like a string of beads. So there's space between them, and you can do them spaced out different ways, and you can use different size beads. But I'm going to go over all that with you in this tutorial. So anyway, check out this tutorial. Alright, so today we are going to do a tutorial on the illusion necklace. Okay, so I have a few examples here, and these are ones that I've done already, and you can see that you can make them in many different ways. So this one has a big clasp on there. There's 3 different types of beads, so you get the bigger ones, you get a rondelle here, and then you have a round bead, and then this one actually also has a charm on it. And we have these 3, which are all with the same type of beads, the same kind of beads that we're going to be using today. Now you can see this one has a lot more beads on it. Okay, so the beads are a lot more condensed. This one has less beads on it. Okay, so they're more spaced out, which means they're going to have a lot more movement in the necklace. And then this one here also has a lot on there. This one, the beads go all the way around the whole thing, and I don't have any chain at the end except for just a couple of links to link into with the lobster claw, whereas this one has a lot of chain on both sides. Okay, so that you can make the necklace as long as you want. So if you only have a certain amount of beads and you want to add even more chain to make it longer to the length that you want, you can go ahead and do that. Alright, so these are the ones that I made as examples. So today we're going to make something with different colors. Alright, so the tools that you're going to need are a tiger tail. You can use different colors. As you see, I got this 10-pack of different colors from bbcraft.com, and then I also got these different colored beads from there. And so what we're going to do is we're going to make another one of these bracelets, and I have already a lobster claw here and the extender chain for the other end. And then I have 2 of these. They're like clam shells. Okay, so they're to hold the ends of the wires into, and they just have this little loop around. And then we have some GS-Hypo Cement. We're going to need some round nose pliers, some side cutters, flush cutters, whatever you use to cut your tiger tail, you're going to want to use that. So you're going to want to have a different pair of cutters for each type of thing that you cut, just so that you're not messing up your cutters on multiple things, especially memory wire. You want to have your own specific cutters for that because they will definitely tear up your cutters. Alright, so we're going to get started here. So what I'm going to pick is, I'm going to use, let's see these red and yellow beads? I think I'm going to go with these 2 colors. So, and you can use the same color. They don't have to be 2 different colors. But for this one, I'm going to go ahead and use these 2 colors of the beading wire. I'm going to get rid of these. Okay. And then, as you can see where I've used a lot of these, so I'm going to go ahead and pull them all out so that way I have as many as I need. And you can use different types of beads. It doesn't have to be all the same. You can do different patterns with different colors. That's totally up to you. So I'm going to put that off to the side here. And then what we're going to do is we're going to measure out some of the stuff. And it depends on, how big you like your necklace as to, how much wire you're going to need. So I personally like to do about an 18-inch necklace. So 19 inches is fine too, just to have a little bit more room. So what I do is I take this, and I'm looking for my tape measure. I don't know what to do with it now. Oh, there it is. I covered it up. Alright, so take my little tape measure here. And I just say, all right, how long do I want this? So then you want to add about 1 inch for clasp, and then you want to add an inch or 2 on each end for wire that you're going to cut off, you know, as you're doing the ends. Okay, so I'm going to cut about 19 inches. Okay, so I'm just going to cut those off. Now I have 19-inch strand of each of the color of tiger tail beading wire that I'm going to use. So I'm going to move those off to the end. Alright, so now to get started, oh, and I forgot we're going to need a couple of crimps. That would be helpful. Alright, so we have these, and they also sell these on ARRICRAFT.com. So and they have the bigger tubes here. These are the tubes, and then these are the smaller little bead type ones. So I'm going to use these. Obviously it doesn't matter what color I'm going to use because I'm going to cover it. I have silver findings to go with this, so I'm going to be covering it with that silver clamshell. So it doesn't really matter what color crimps I use on this. Alright, so what we're going to do, we're going to slide this clamshell on, and you want to make sure that the opening with the loop goes to the outer edge. And for the first one, it doesn't really matter. If you put it on wrong, well, then you could just very easily slide it off the other end. The other end's going to matter greatly that you put it on the correct way. So we're just going to slide them in there. So there's a little hole on the end. I just pulled it out so I can show you. So you got a little hole on the end. So we're just going to feed these 2 little ends in there. Okay, and that can slide down. It doesn't matter how far down it goes for this part. And we're going to throw our crimp on here, which also means we're going to need some crimping pliers. Alright, so I'm just going to slide this up to the end a little bit here. You're going to make sure you don't have your wires crossed in the tube and that you have those spread apart, so that way you know that each side of the wire is going into its own crimped tube within the crimper as it goes through. So there we go, got those separated. And then this one has 2 crimp lines in it, and I'm not sure why, so I typically just go through both just for good measure. Then you're going to turn it sideways and go through the end one. And then you can always give it an extra little crush, the little flat part at the end. That's what I like to do. But however you like to make it secure, that's what matters. Just do whatever you like. We all do things differently. Alright, so I'm just going to snip off this extra little end here. Okay, and then I'm going to grab my GS-Hypo Cement. Oh, and we're going to also need a pair of pliers there. You use chain nose pliers, bent nose pliers, whatever you like. So I do a little drop of glue on there just to make sure it's going to be enough to kind of hold that all in place. So I do it on the chain itself, inside each of the little sides of the clamshell, and then just put the cap on, otherwise this stuff will just continue to ooze out of the tube there. Learn the hard way. There we go. And then we're just going to get this a little close here. Okay. And then what I like to do is these little hinges down here, I like to give those a little squeeze. I feel like that just kind of holds it together really, really securely. Alright, so we got that closed. And then the other thing that I like to do is I like to, and I should have done this before I closed up that tube, it's okay. So what I like to do is I like to take these and try to make this as tight as possible, but that last little bit, take a little bit more of my glue, because these kind of pull open. I just do a little bit of glue right down here at that bottom part. And I just roll that into that little bit of glue right there. There we go. So now you can see it's got a nice little round on there. Let's see. There we go. Sorry, my camera's wiggling now. There we go. Alright. So yeah, so you can see I got a nice little loop on there. And then I have that glue on there, so that should help to hold that loop stay together. Alright, so now we have 2 strands here. Okay, so we're going to get all these tools out of the way. We don't need any tools for right now. Get the glue out of here. Alright. So all we're going to do, okay, is we're going to take 1 strand, okay, we're going to put a bead on there. And then we're going to do 2 strands. So we start with gold first. We're going to do both strands together through the same bead. So you want to make sure that whatever bead you're using, that there's enough room for 2 things of beading wire to go through. If you're using them on the ones that need 2 things to go through it. Okay, let's see how it kind of pinches that in there. And then you want to go back to the other wire. Okay, so this is where doing 2 different color wire comes in handy. So you can see that this first bead's on the gold, so that means the second bead's gonna, well, technically the third bead's gonna go on this red. So it's some nice red skin colors if there's any red skin fans out there. Alright, so then we have that on the red. And then we're gonna go back, the next one is gonna go on both. And this is what's gonna hold the beads in place to make an illusion that they're floating within the necklace, because they're being held in place by the beads next to it from holding them, the 2 wires in between them, like that. And then, like I said, you can spread them out more, or you can do them tighter together. That part's totally up to you. Alright, so this last bead was on the red, so the next one that's going only on 1 wire is going to go on the gold. So there you go, there's that one. And we're going to go back to both. And then this is what we're going to do. So I'll spread them out just a little bit. Alright, so my next one's going to go on the red. And then we're going to do both. And honestly, if you don't have them on the same exact, like if you have 2 wires that are the same color, and if you don't have them exactly on, you know, like one side, you know, one's on the right side, one's on the left side, or, you know, however you want to call it, it's not really that big of a deal, I don't think. I know one of my examples, I really paid attention, and one of them I didn't. Yeah, this one I did not pay attention completely on that because it's the same color, 2 strands of wire, and it's the same color beads all the way down. So, and I really don't feel like you can tell, you know, whether I did exactly the opposite, you know, wires or not. So I don't think it really matters. But if you know, if it matters to you, what I would do is, and what I have done, is push the wire back through so you can see which one it is that the bead is on, so you know which one to put the next bead onto. That's what I did with this one, because I really wanted to make sure I had done that right, because that was the first time I had made one. And these beads are actually from the November bargain bead box, so that was the coffee collection there, as you can tell by the little coffee cup charm. It's one of the first patterns that I ever looked up and followed, and I watched a video. I forget who it was by, some kind of sisters. I don't remember what the sisters are now, but they have, it's almost like a talk show. It looks like it's like a little stage set up, and they talk to each other while they're doing different jewelry things. If somebody knows who I'm talking about, you can comment that below. O'Neill sisters? Maybe that's what it is. That might be what it's called. I'll have to look it up now. Alright, so the next single one goes on the gold. How's everybody doing out there? Hopefully everybody's staying healthy. Right now we're going through the COVID virus. Everybody's locked into their homes. So if you're watching the replay on this, then you know how things turn out. And we don't yet. Assuming you're watching the replay in the, distant future. Alright, so we're getting there. We're about halfway done. So we're going to keep going here. Like I said, we're just alternating between one bead on one wire, bead on both wires, and then a bead on the other wire. So it's a pattern of 3, and once you get to the third one, then you're going back to the first one. And then you can actually do this with 3 beads. I'm sorry, 3 wires, and then it just gets more complicated. So you got to put the first one on one bead, and then the second one on beads, or put the first bead on string 1, and then the next bead on strings 1 and 2, and then you put the next bead on 2, and then you put the next bead on strands 2 and 3, and then go back to the beginning that way. So I have seen a tutorial doing it that way also. There's no wrong way to make jewelry, in my opinion. As long as it looks good to you and it holds together, it's not going to fall apart on someone, then I say great job. I feel like at this point, no matter what we do, everything's been done. There's not really too many new or original ideas. Kind of like the movies, how they all keep getting remade. We can all put our own little twist on things, but some people are going to like it and some people aren't. You can't please all the people all the time. And that is okay. Oops. Alright, so let's see how we're doing here. We're only about 14 inches in so far. We're going to finish up the rest of this here. Like I said, I want this to be about 18 inches. I'm okay with going up to 19 inches with the clasp on. So we're just going to see how long this is by the time it's done. I'll go back to both wires again. This is one of the easiest, fastest working bracelets. I keep saying bracelet, sorry. Necklace that I know of, because it doesn't take as many beads because they're all spread out. And then they just slide on really easily. And the ends aren't very complicated. They go rather quickly, actually. Alright. I think we're just going to do this last one. And then, so the first one started out on a gold. I do one more, then this last one will end on a red, and I feel like we've completed the pattern. But again, it doesn't really matter. Whatever looks good, feels good to you, that's all that matters. So there you go. Alright, so I think that looks good. Okay, so this is right about 18 inches, the way that it is. So I'm just going to tighten it up just a little bit. And you can move these around as much as you want. Not hurting anything once it's all set up on there. So I'm just sliding these down just a little bit. Just so I can make it just a little bit shorter. Alright, so now the main thing, before you slide on this other crimp, you have to make sure you put on this other clamshell. Oh, where'd my clamshell go? Oh, there it is. It's stuck on the middle. So that's the very important thing, is you want to make sure you put this other clamshell on first before anything else. Okay, once you're done with all your beads, make sure you put on the clamshell next. Okay, you want the clamshell opening. You always want to be going through the bottom and up into the middle of the clamshell. You don't want to be starting in the middle of the clamshell or to be facing the wrong direction. Alright. Alright, it's not cooperating. So what we're going to do one wire first and then we'll do the second wire. So we'll stick the red one in first, and then we're going to stick the gold one in. It's not trying to cooperate with me. Alright. Now let's try the gold wire first. The gold wire just does not want to go in because the end is frayed a little bit. So, I gotta fix for that. There we go. Let's try that. Now they both have a nice clean flush end. Let's try it again. Yeah, look at that. Alright. Then we're gonna get these through this little crimp tube here. And then, now remember, you can re-spread things out. So you don't want to have the clamshell over top of the crimp bead until it's already crimped. So if you need to slide some of these beads down to give you a little more working room, you can definitely do that. And then just spread your beads back out once you're done. So I want to spread these apart. Let's make sure that they're going into their own little personal tubes there. What I'm going to do, I'm going to hold them apart on this side too. Grab my crimpers here. Make sure nothing's crossed. Don't cross the lines. Then we're going to give it a crimp. I knows why there's two crimps on here, because I swear they look like they're about the same size. They don't look any different to me. They look like they're the same size. So I don't get it. And then we just come up here and we give it a squish sideways on top of each other. And like I said, you can give it an extra little squish with this outer part here if you want. That's what I like to do, just to make sure it's not going anywhere. Just give it a nice good tug. Make sure nothing's moving. Alright, definitely nothing's going anywhere. So clip off these extra little ends. Like that. And then that goes up over top. I'm going to get out the trusty glue. And this is GS-Hypo Cement. I usually find this at like Joann's for, let's say it's like $6 or $7 or $8 a tube, somewhere in there. And I just wait until I have a coupon to buy it half price or 60% off or 50% off, whatever their deal is. They all always have a deal. Hobby Lobby always has 40% off, but I'm not sure if they have this glue. I believe they do. I've never bought it from there, but I believe they do. I usually get mine from Joann's. Alright, so we're going to give this a little squeeze here. Close that up. And like I said at the beginning when I did the other side, once I get that in there, oh, got a little wire sticking out, get in there. So once I get that closed up good, make sure it's all even. I like to come down and squish on these little hinges. I just like to go through, double check, make sure everything's all lined up as you're squeezing stuff, that nothing went out of place. Just make sure that's good. Then I'm going to start the roll on this. Like I said, I just roll it down onto itself. And then I just put a little dab of glue right down there at the bottom just to kind of help hold that together. And a glue like E6000 might be better for that, but this just happens to already be right here in my hand. So there we go. Alright, so then once that glue would dry, ideally you want to give that a little bit of time. Alright, so we're going to get this little bit of trash out of here. And then, like I said, we had to squish everything down to give us some room for there, so we're just going to spread this back out a little bit. So I'm just going to look over the whole length of it and just kind of make sure everything's spread out how I liked it. There we go. You might find that gravity has a way of, moving your beads around a little bit as you're wearing it out and around. So that's bound to happen. And then, like I said, I just have my little ends here to put on. So I need my pliers, chain nose pliers, and my bent nose pliers here. We got my extender chain. So I'm just going to open that up. Slide this right through there. Twist your jump rings. You don't want to pull them apart. So I'm just going to slide those back together, and then I just like to make sure they're nice and lined up good. Make sure they're squeezed together good, but you want to make sure you don't squeeze them too much and overlap them, because then that would not be good. Alright, that looks good to me. So I'm going to come over to this side. Alright, now this side doesn't actually have a jump ring on it. It's just the chain itself. Now, I will tell you that I have tried to just open chain links and then close them back up. And what I find is that it loses a lot of its integrity. So I feel like it's a much looser link at that point, and then they do tend to break. So I've stopped doing that, and now I just grab a jump ring. And there we go. Just going to give this a close. We'll swivel back. Alright, that didn't close up as tight as I would like it, so I'm going to try and wiggle this closed a little more. There we go. Looks a little better now. Again, just make sure they're flush with each other. Alright, and then there we have it. So we have a nice floating illusion necklace. Floating bead, illusion wire, however you want to call it. People call it different things. So there we go. Alright, so if you have any questions, go ahead and comment those below, and I will answer them as soon as I see them. And thank you for tuning in. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please go ahead and do so. I'm going to start trying to do more tutorials as I, come up with more projects of things to do. So thank you again, and have a great night.